Mr. the Minister, Chairman and President, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am very honored and very pleased as Chairman of Paris Europlace, the organization promoting the Paris Financial Center, to open this first International Climate Finance Day in Paris, organized in partnership with the Caisse des Dépôts and the European Investment Bank, with the support of the major United Nations international initiatives. This forum takes place on the road of the Paris Climate United Nations Conference, the COP21, at the end of this year. It will aim to build a major international agreement on how to tackle climate change. Let me thank very warmly Michel Sapin, Minister of Finance and Public Accounts, for having accepted to open this forum, as well as Pierre-René Lemar, CEO of Caisse des Dépôts, whose team have been the main designer of our meeting, and Jonathan Taylor for the strong involvement of European Investment Bank. Thank also to all of our sponsors for their support, and I would like also to thank UNESCO to hosting in this prestigious place. We are also very honored by the strong recognition coming from the United Nations. Janos Pastor, High Representative of General Secretary Ban Ki-moon for Climate, thank you for accepting to attend and conclude this meeting, which is just a step forward of what you did in New York last September. Mrs. Figueres, dear Christiana, General Secretary of UNFCCC, everybody here is eager to hear your opening speech. All of us were attending with Laurent Fabius and Ségolène Royal, even yesterday for dinner, all the meetings of the Business Dialogue and Business Climate Summit. The global warming is a key challenge today for international countries as well as businesses. I am personally convinced that the global warming could bring us to a disaster and strongly damage the equilibrium of the globe. The financial industry also considers that the climate change will impact very significantly the global society, as well as international economies and the ecosystems. That is why it supports the target of keeping global warming to below 2 degrees by 2050. Although the financial sector is not directly involved in climate negotiations, it can play a major role in combating global warming by steering capital and the economy towards a low carbon intensive model. This involvement is key to attracting capital on a large scale. That is why we have already seen a whirlwind of climate-related innovations being developed by the financial sector in the past few years. For instance, some big institutional investors have already announced new asset allocations to reduce their involvement in sectors or companies with heavy emissions, or to encourage companies engaged in climate strategies. Another recent innovation has been the launching of green bonds to finance environmental projects. The international market has increased tenfold in 1 year, and Paris is well engaged in these new issues. For instance, my company, ENGIE, the ex-GDF Suez, has issued its first Euro 2.5 billion green bond on May last year to help to finance our growth strategy in renewables and energy efficiency, which is the biggest green bond issued today by a private company. A special guide has been published today by Paris Europlace at the occasion of our conference. It presents the characteristics and perspectives of this market, as well as the French expertise. Besides that, there are many young, innovative companies which are developing today new activities related to climate issues in the risk measuring or the cloud computing, as well as dedicated rating agencies or crowdfunding activities. The first objective of this Climate Finance Day is to introduce international practices and guidance which have been already developed, like it has been expressed in the United Nations New York meetings, the Climate Summit last autumn. But the issue of financing the transition to a low-carbon economy at a higher speed and level is key. Additional investment needed in a 2 degrees green growth scenario is estimated at $0.7 trillion per year by 2030. And we know that public finance will be insufficient both in developed and emerging countries. This means that the involvement of the private financial sector will be crucial. And today, the private financing is not currently sufficiently focused on low-carbon assets because the financing of projects that emit less carbon faces regulatory barriers. That is why this financing shift requires a more appropriate regulatory environment and drivers. May I underline once again my concerns about the negative impacts of certain European directives like Solvency II, which puts strong constraints on the institutional investors to invest on long-term projects, as well as the implementation of the European Financial Transaction Tax. Another key priority is the implementation of a carbon price, which is a real climate indicator, a real compass. The carbon pricing needs to be developed to address emission reductions cost effectively. This is, in our view, the most urgent task. Clearly, the call for carbon pricing has been massive during those 2 days, 2 last days during the climate summit. And I'm sure it will be the same today. In the same time, the financial sector can play a significant role in providing technological solutions, investments, and financial resources to tackle climate change. In fact, some institutions are already acting in this way. So today, this event aims first promoting multiple financial initiatives currently available or emerging and discussing their appropriateness for climate goals. May I underline that the financial and insurance institutions that have chosen to sponsor this event also account for their socially responsible investment policies and their climate-related initiatives. Second, encouraging the financial sector as a whole to use their experiments as an example and to extend those that have the most effect so that the sector develops appropriate tools and standards. And third, fostering the cooperation between public and private financial players to facilitate and accelerate investment into green economy. It is essential that the big international institutions and big international investors take into account long-term criteria and sustainability. So our program will address 4 concrete issues. How can institutional investors focus the management of their portfolios in order to prevent climate change? How can the finance and insurance take into account climate risk in order to be more resilient and capable of adapting to them? What kind of banking and financial tools will allow the financing of green projects? What are the innovative financial policies currently in place across the world which create a financial system favorable to climate investment. May I conclude by announcing the launching today of a new collective engagement by Paris Europlace and the major professional organizations representing the Paris Financial Center to increase their contribution to the international climate change initiative. The Paris financial community is proud of this collective commitment that I will not develop now. You can discover the main priorities of this new engagement on the screen. Mr. Minister, I give you the floor. Thank you very much.